All right, so today we're going to be talking about the next journal. This is the second journal that a child will go into at day prep, and this is the primary lined journal. So the student's name goes on the front, and then on the inside you want to begin by creating a topic list. At day prep, children always self-select their own topic. So on the first day or your first session or the first week of school, you want to take some time with each student and make their own list of topics that they can write about. You can do this on a regular piece of paper and use a glue stick to affix it on the inside of the journal. It's important that it's on the inside of the journal so it's always there and the student doesn't have to hunt for it. This way, when a student says that they don't know what they want to write about, you can easily say, well, let's look at your list. We tend to put general topics here. So for example, if the child says Hanukkah, instead of Hanukkah, we write the word holidays. If the child says the name of a specific friend, like Sienna, we change it instead to my friends. So you go to more general topics. There are some specifics here, but mostly they are general. Sometimes they will say your name, which is so nice, and their family and their school and friends and sports, and you of course can make suggestions. So if they say they like soccer, you can put the word sports instead. So for the journal entry, we want to be able to have them have the date at the top, the same as for the other journal. And again, the teacher writes this date and it's written in secret agent code like this, 4-6-13. Again, not with the slashes because children can mistake those for lines and we're not wanting to introduce new symbols when they're still learning the 52 symbols that they need to learn. So this is a guided writing. So even though you can't see it here, the teacher is doing teaching points throughout the instruction. She's using her eraser stick in order to make the tall letters tall and the short letters half as tall. So the student is writing and the teacher has an eraser stick and is erasing as they're writing. You can see here that she wrote a T, the teacher erased it, and they probably worked on the GH silent sound that needed to go in there, because she felt that this student was ready for that instruction. And you can see lots of great words, lots of great phonics embedded in here. She probably worked on the OO, ooh, the sight word when, and so forth. There's also a dialogue bubble here. When we make dialogue bubbles, you want to teach children to always write the words first and then do the bubble after, because you never quite know how big the words are going to be. So this is a highly supported process, and that's how we bring it to this. So in one session or one day, this is a good amount of writing. But in the beginning, if all you get is one sentence, that's well done and heavily guided, that's good enough. So you can see the student is working on topics, and again, these are all self-selected topics. This is about the tooth fairy coming, and here she is laying in her bunk bed. Her brother sleeps here, she sleeps here, and there's the tooth fairy. And she's doing a lot of work on her background. Now she's writing about a new topic, which is about insects outside. She has her periods, her capitals. A growth area for this student might be sentence variation, because she's saying I went, I saw, I picked. So her next step might be to start her sentence in a new way. Okay, and she's writing about her family. This was a homework that she had, which is with dictation, and that's why those are in there. And then she's back to her normal writing. This is a directed drawing of an airplane, which again helps children to learn to write bigger, to draw bigger, and to have drawings that they can feel proud of. So teaching them how to draw simple things, like a fun birthday cake, can make them more confident as an artist, even if they're not especially drawn to that. All right, so the next journal, this is the same child, and it's just a few years later. It's a few years later, you can see her writing. She no longer needs a topic over here, and her writing, of course, has gotten a lot smaller, more to an adult size, which is why she's now in this journal. Here's another student who started in this journal. This is an indication that a student is ready to move from a primary line journal to the college ruled journal. Again, this is not based on grade level at all. It is based on developmental level. So this is a third grade student. She is ready to be in this journal. Sometimes students don't reach this until 4th or 5th grade. Sometimes they reach it in 2nd or 1st grade. So it's a challenge for her to try to make her letters big enough. You can see how small she's writing. So for that reason, she was shifted into the next size journal down. And here she is, same student in the next size journal down. So she was writing in here, and her teacher could see that this was not the right size journal for her. Here she is in October, writing very small and neatly as a 3rd grader. So the teacher decided to move her to the next journal. Again, it is not based on a time of year or how old the student is. It is only based on the developmental level of the student. Another thing that we do is a quick little web. So this web looks great, except these circles are not needed. So these are her ideas to get her started on her writing. You just don't want to circle these out because, again, we want the student adding on evidence to those, okay? And then as far as the next step goes, then we get to where the student is actually this is a 6th grade student, and so then they're going to do their planning a little bit differently. But you can see how the student goes from a very basic level of writing, like this, all the way to this type of writing, where they're able to produce this in about 30 minutes. And this builds their writing fluency. And again, these are all self-selected topics. So this is a web that can be helpful for some students to visualize. You don't have to use a form, but sometimes a form can help the child organize their thoughts. This has a thesis, a commentary evidence, commentary evidence, commentary evidence, and a conclusion. Usually we don't write that here, we just write it in the writing. And then here he is with his 3 paragraphs, and he has a very simple 5-paragraph essay. Here is the drafting work. So one of the tasks that you want to do is just the drafting or the pre-writing. So most kids are not invited to pre-write every time they write, and so their writing can be very disorganized. Taking just a few minutes to organize your thoughts is the skill of an organized writer. That's what professional authors do. It's what you do for the college entrance exams. So at Day Prep, we do that from a very young age. We don't wait until later to teach it. We do it now when they're young, because then it just becomes a habit for them instead of something that they have to go and learn later on and change how they've been doing it. So we teach it that way from the very, very beginning. So here are his webs or his outlines. You can see that he used to do this when he was a little younger, and now he has just moved to stacking it up like this, which is just fine. So he has his commentary evidence, and he's building it. Students begin to learn that once they have this done, they've basically written the first draft of their essay, which really makes them feel great. Then this was actually for something he was doing, that we were turning in for something. So we actually went through it and we identified the commentary and the evidence. And this was his original draft, which I did the handwriting on, because again, I wanted him to engage in his thought process, not the writing. Okay, and so here's another one, same thing. Here's his pre-write, here's his writing.